For 6 centuries, an empire fought relentlessly against kings, sultans, republics, crusaders, rebels, and rising European powers. Sometimes it gained territory, sometimes it lost it. Borders were drawn, erased, and redrawn. It survived crises, endured sieges, and marched its armies from the Balkans to the deserts of Arabia. And while doing all of this, it accomplished something almost no other empire in history managed. It never went bankrupt while at war, because the Ottomans didn't just fight battles. They found a way to finance those wars, and they managed to sustain it for centuries. Welcome to Economic Historian. Here, money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it seems. The Ottoman Empire lasted from around 1299 to 1922, longer than Rome, longer than Britain, and longer than most states that dominate modern historical narratives. But longevity isn't the main point. The real mystery is this: how did an empire, almost constantly at war, survive under immense financial pressure? Western narratives often claim empires fall when they lose battles, but it's rarely the battlefields that destroy states. It's the budgets, leadership, logistics, cash flow. The Ottomans recognized this early. Rather than building a typical European system of taxes plus a salaried army, they designed something far more efficient. They created a structure where war wasn't a financial burden. It became a source of revenue. But first, let's clarify what the Ottomans actually were. For many, the Ottoman Empire evokes images of turbans, domes, janissaries, and sultans. Cinematic and familiar, yes, but the centuries-long financial engine behind those images is far less known. The Ottoman state began as a small frontier principality in northwest Anatolia. Osman Bey had a few thousand warriors and was in the right place at the right time. The Byzantine Empire was weakening, the Mongol threat had receded, and a power vacuum emerged. Early conquests weren't just military victories. Each conquest meant land, resources, people, and taxes. Here lies the first key to the Ottoman financial system. War was not an expense. It was income. By 1326, with the capture of Bursa, and in the 1350s, as they moved into Europe, the Ottomans were no longer a border principality. They controlled the trade arteries between Europe and Asia, a rising power in the medieval economy, holding the main channels of global commerce. From Venice to Iran, Cairo to Buda, Baghdad to Istanbul, anyone passing through Ottoman gates paid their dues. War demands 3 things: food, metal, and manpower. The Ottomans didn't have more soldiers or resources than their neighbors, but they had something others lacked: cash flow. The empire was at the crossroads of global trade. Silk, spices, carpets, copper, and all movement was taxed. But a strong revenue base alone doesn't explain 6 centuries of military activity. Most empires had income, yet many still collapsed under military expenditures. What set the Ottomans apart was structural. They turned the army into a self-financing system. This is where the Timar system comes in. Modern states' biggest expense is salaries. Professional soldiers, equipment, pensions, all drain the treasury. The Ottomans found a radical solution. They didn't pay their soldiers a salary. They gave them rights. A Sipahi cavalryman was granted the right to collect taxes from a certain land in exchange for providing his own horse, armor, and weapons for campaigns. The state didn't pay. It was one of history's smartest financial engineering moves. Government expenses dropped. Soldiers invested in local stability, because a stable village meant a stable revenue. Villagers lived predictably, and the empire had an army that could mobilize quickly without draining the treasury. While European kings relied on expensive mercenaries or knights, Ottoman soldiers had their own income stream even in peacetime. War didn't deplete the budget. It activated the system, but the mechanism didn't stop there. The Janissaries were the second piece. The Devshirme system was harsh and coercive. Romanticizing it isn't possible. Yet financially, it produced a unique result. The empire didn't bear the full cost of raising elite soldiers from childhood to adulthood. The initial investment was spread across the conquered populations. Janissaries were professional, disciplined, and loyal. For long periods, they couldn't marry or engage in trade, minimizing conflict of interest. The Timar system made cavalry efficient. The Janissary system did the same for infantry, both relatively low cost. Conquest fueled the system. Each new territory meant new taxpayers, trade routes, ports, and revenue. While European kingdoms returned from war poorer, the Ottomans often returned wealthier. This wasn't military strategy. It was a cash flow strategy. The Straits, the Eastern Mediterranean, the Red Sea, caravan routes in Iran. Any goods passing through had to pay. State monopolies were established. Salt, tobacco, coffee. Key commodities flowed directly into the treasury. These were the precursors of modern strategic sectors. Annual tributes from vassal states were cheaper than direct governance and provided steady income. The real genius, they avoided borrowing for centuries. No national debt spiral. No foreign creditor pressure. The treasury was independent until the world changed. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Europe industrialized. Overseas trade expanded. Trade routes shifted from land to oceans. The Timar system faltered. Local powers grew uncontrolled. Janissaries became a political force. A modern army required cash salaries. Cash meant borrowing. By the 19th century, the Ottomans borrowed at high interest from European banks. In 1881, the Ministry of Finance was handed over to an international commission. For an empire that had survived centuries of financial independence, this was a major fracture. Sound familiar? Power rises with fiscal discipline. It survives on innovative systems. Ignore the warning signs, and the economy stops functioning. Then collapse is inevitable. Look at today. Military outsourcing, private defense contractors, control over strategic straits, energy monopolies, state funds. The mechanisms are the same. Only the uniforms have changed. Empires don't die on the battlefield. They die on the balance sheet. The Ottoman Empire lasted 6 centuries because its financial system was disciplined. When that system failed, expansion could no longer fund itself. Trade routes shifted, soldiers became expensive, and debt mortgaged the future. The lesson is clear. Financial systems generate power for centuries until they no longer do. History doesn't repeat exactly, but if you fail to understand it, it will crush you again.